Well. The last videos may have been what it took to make Mojang fix wet TNT. So this means this exact Nether tree farm we'll be playing with in this video is going to be patched in 1.21.6 or later. But this video will still be informative. For those who clicked on the video and are new to this farm, I made a previous video showcasing how it works and how it destroys all previous designs. If you haven't watched it and you want to build the farm, I recommend you watch the older video before, as it's going to explain how the farm works. In this video, we'll go over the changes that increased the rates by a little bit and how I implemented some very simple toggles to the farm for quality of life. Let's first start with the core. Of course, the dispenser layout of the core is going to be the most impactful way to change the rates of the farm. I played with the order of dispenser trigger and tried moving dispensers around a little bit. That was quite tricky because I wasn't used to tweaking the same game tick order of trigger for so many components. I referred to this amazing video on tile tick priority by I Play Games. It was basically a game of tweaking repeaters, observers, and rails in order to trigger different dispensers in the best order possible to generate the most baby fungi possible. The order is important because most baby fungi will generate closer to the center block being bone mealed. This means that for the best efficiency, you want to have a spread that allows for as many baby fungi to generate as possible in the core. And the way we achieve this is by having a bunch of dispensers all around the core being spread out and firing in an order that through testing shows the best numbers. In theory, you could calculate this using maths, but in practice it's not really achievable. I went over the reasons why in this short rant I made a while ago on Huge Fungi Huggers Discord. The TLDR of this is that there are too many variables to calculate and I trust no one to get them all right. So I only trust carpet hopper counters. When I was tweaking the dispenser layout, I quickly came to have another issue arise. The farm was using so much bone meal that the dropper lines couldn't keep up. It was eating more than 18,000 bone meal per hour, per side. But that's 18,000 times 4, that's 72,000 bone meal per hour, and that wasn't enough. I added some hopper lines to try and increase that a little bit without going for a big redesign. I just wanted it to keep up with the added bone meal demand. I then wanted to try tweaking the TNT blast chamber. More specifically, I wanted to make it faster. But there's just one issue. I couldn't really just make it faster. Making it faster would mess up the previous batch of TNT.
Alright, so let's see it in game. Alright, so you can see that one batch of TNT out of 3 is going to reach where it's supposed to reach. But what it does is that when it explodes over here, it's just going to give some momentum to the TNT that's above it, and that's why it just doesn't blow up at the right place. There's also some side motion because I don't just cancel all of the motion at the top over there. It's not really practical.
That slows down the rates of the farm. The solution? Remove the topmost TNT layer of the TNT batch. Now we can go faster. We got basically the same rates with this faster setup as with the old setup, even if we let a bunch of floating blocks. But we're obviously not after a setup that's just as fast. We want something faster. So now the tricky question comes up. How do you blow up the top part if you can't have TNT blow it up without affecting other TNT? I tried a couple things and the best setup seemed to be this. We blew up TNTs a little bit lower and to the side. This will blow up and send adjacent TNTs flying to the side. That's no bueno. So we also implement some blocks that will keep the TNTs in their place despite the adjacent explosions. When they're chests though. If I use obsidian blocks, the TNTs sometimes fall on it due to small misalignment. The TNTs can sometimes move just a little bit from the point they drop, and their chests have one less pixel to their side, and they let the TNT fall without landing on them. Finally, it's been pointed out to me that this could be improved to this. And yeah, this is true. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Here's a short tutorial on how you can do this water trick. Now let's see our quality of life features. I wanted to have all the possible functions for the farm. Every function will be controlled with this control panel over here. There's a video about it on a second channel if you're interested in how it works. This is the button for when you start using the farm for the first time. We'll fill up the bone meal of the farm using this simple bone meal farm. It also keeps the area loaded with a chunk loader, so you can do anything you want and leave this running as you go 10,000 blocks away to go mining or do I don't know what. The wiring for this is simple. I made a wire that forces the dispenser clock to run when this option is selected, then another wire that forces the moss farm to activate. And of course, the same goes for the chunk loader. For our second option, we can run the bone meal generation feature. Basically, the tree farm can make a bunch of bone meal if we stop using so much of it to grow more trees. About 10,000 bone meal per hour, while the farm will still make a little bit over 30,000 stems per hour. This is as much as 5 crew moss farms, plus a bunch of wood, but it's obviously more laggy. There's gotta be trade-offs, right? The wiring that allows for this is pretty simple. We disable 4 dispensers from firing with these pistons, and we replace these pistons with node blocks. These pistons were there to double pulse the dispensers firing in the core. It spent more bone meal to grow more trees. By swapping these pistons for node blocks, we only pulse and bone meal once and increase the bone meal efficiency. Finally, we also disable the shroom light collection. The shroom lights can be composted and increase the bone meal rates by quite a bit. The third option makes the farm run normally while collecting shroom lights. You'll probably run this mode until you have plenty of shroom lights blocks that serve no purpose to you. That's when you'll switch to the mode that disables the shroom light collection and lets them be composted instead. That's the only difference between these two functions. It's just a wire that enables or disables the shroom light collection. The rates of each mode is written on these signs. Crimson offers more shroom lights and stems per hour in any case, but Warped still has upside. The Warped Nylium will give you a better bone meal output if you run this as a bone meal farm, and a full speed stem optimized option will give you 5,000 bone meal per hour to compensate for its lower stem output, which is 46,000 per hour. Is this good enough to choose this over Crimson's 54,000 stems and 15,000 shroom lights per hour output? In my opinion, no. But that's just my personal opinion, and it doesn't hurt me if you choose to go with Warped instead. And this is how I increased the rates of the 50,000 stems per hour nether tree farm to 53.8 thousand per hour. Not huge compared to 50, but I started optimizing the farm when it was sitting at 35,000 stems per hour. So there was already 15,000 stems per hour of optimization before I added this new 4,000 stems. This should give you a better perspective. I hope this helps you understand how we can integrate some quality of life features for players self-sufficient nether tree farms. If you haven't already, join the Technical Minecraft Resources Archive to improve your redstone skills and knowledge. I'll see you later. Bye.